So due to my addiction to buying low-priced Steam games, I purchased Sniper Ghost Warrior 1 through 3. I figured I'd give you a brief recounting of my impressions during my early playthroughs of each game. I played at least an hour of all three, but I only have footage from 2 and 3. All of my footage from the first game was corrupted, and I think perhaps the game starting with the screen literally upside down might have been a bad omen. This is actually how it's going to launch. Upside down. Or is this just a creative cutscene? In spite of the confusion caused by an upside down cutscene, I honestly enjoyed the gameplay of the first game. The tone and setting it's going for appears to be like gritty and realistic, but the actual combat is over the top ridiculous. This is the start of a trend of having an over the top giant sniper rifle for engagements that are typically within 50 meters. Featured here is from the first 10 minutes of Sniper Shooty Game 2. Since I have no footage of the first game, I'll describe the early game as basically the movie Commando the game. You're a one-man army infiltrating bases featuring many more men than you. You have at most one-man support in the early game, and that was okay with me because you can like rip through everyone so fast. It was fun and campy, even if it's dated. It was worth the $2 I paid for it. That's all I'm really going to say for that, since I don't have any accompanying gameplay. In Big Gun Kills Bad Guys 2, you start with a similar mission as the first. You're given a perfectly accurate to real-life mission brief featuring voice acting clearly from retired military personnel. I'm positive this is how these preparations are made.
Eyes front, gentlemen.
Diaz, who invited the spooks?
This is a company op, Anderson. I've agreed to let you take point, as long as you don't fuck things up.
Oh, you mean like I did in Sarajevo?
Just stick to the script this time and we won't have any problems.
3 months ago, a crew of Russian mercs raided a secure biolab in Siberia. They made off with a shitload of weaponized African hemorrhagic fever. Some
made
fakes
off
of Black
with a
Death looked like a head cold. This morning, we received confirmation they have...
Then you begin to progress in a two-man operation similar to the first game, where you're taking out the enemy while slowly progressing through their lines. Your squad mate takes the role as the typical guy on the radio to give you the tutorial. You're shown many of the same features as its predecessor, including the ability to headshot someone and initiate a slow-mo feed of the takedown. This never gets old. No matter how silly the writing or gameplay becomes, the satisfaction of slamming some guy in the dome with a big gun is still very, very high. These games ask you to compensate with the wind and distance of the shot to compensate for bullet drop, but the difficulty of that is mitigated by a red dot giving you a clear indicator of where the bullet will land, so it's not exactly a simulator. Also, I did not realize this red dot. Somehow I just didn't see it. Cut me some slack. The games also have the typical hold your breath to steady feature, which has been adopted by most games with a sniper rifle since the original Metal Gear Solid. I will say though, for a man that's a sniper, he is one shaky SOB. Chill out on the coffee, son. Eventually, after making your way through the enemy encampment, you reach your sniper perch on top of the old church, so you can cover for your boys attacking from below. This is the first glimpse of gameplay that actually makes you feel like a sniper. You're taking down the patrols from a safe distance while your boys approach, and they spot them out and you knock them down. This is fun. This gameplay loop is not particularly challenging, but it's engaging and viscerally satisfying in a way I can't explain. After finishing suppressing the enemy with extreme prejudice, I'm told they successfully uploaded the virus into the system. So that's what we were doing. End of mission 1. After our next 5-star briefing, we start next with our night vision goggles on, creeping on some more unsuspecting bad guys on our way to the next sniper perch. At this point, it's clear that anytime you're moving and playing these games like a traditional shooter, they're out of their element. Also, they're all in the jungle. If you are in bushes, you are completely hidden, you know, that old trope. Luckily, we quickly arrive on the cliffside overlooking Bad Guy HQ. They're holding a hostage in one of the buildings, and after scouting it out, we figure out which building they're likely held in. I again cover the approach from the team infiltrating from below. This is when these games are at their best. They tag them, I bag them. Eventually, after I become the single most devastating man in the history of warfare, they are allowed to approach the location of the hostage, and they push the hostile with the hostage out on the roof. So I finish him off thanks to the fact that he is oblivious to the first 2 shots that I missed him by inches. Look, I didn't say I was any good at this. At this point you retreat, and it's back to the commando style gameplay where you retreat to your evac while going down a trail and taking out bad guys. That was enough of this for me, I think. Sniper Warrior Guy 3 is the first game where I might be inclined to call it modern. Visually, these games are made with the CryEngine, so they all look reasonably good considering the time periods when they were made. The third is also the first game to attempt a serious story. There are actual cutscenes and what could be called characters by some. You get the opening scene establishing that military guys have brothers sometimes. After the fade to black, you get this amazing establishing scene.
ETA 2 minutes, boys. John, really?
Shut up!
You still using it to beat yourself up, altar boy? Hanging yourself on a bent, tarnished cross?
Very poetic, Rob. At least I have a sense of right and wrong.
Oh, the system's rigged, brother. Some guys get slammed for no reason, some guys get hyped for no reason.
Is it bitter and lonely not to believe in anything?
You're the perfect soldier, John. Naive, gullible, brainwashed, chain of command, following orders. Yes, sir, no, sir.
Hey! You believe in the system when it
Character
suits you.
development.
Big church wedding, Marine Honor Guard, Mila took your name.
That was all her.
Yeah, but you played along like a good little soldier.
How would you know? You weren't even there, but thanks for the lovely gift. Oh wait, you didn't ever send a fucking card.
She's wrong for you, Robert.
Says the man whose longest relationship lasted, what, 6 months? Is it bitter and lonely being such a self-righteous prick? Final approach,
Are you learning about your main character yet? Yeah, you get it. After our tutorial setup, where the 2 brothers are maneuvering into position while learning how to crouch and sprint and fist fighting a wolf, you get eyes on a bad guy encampment. Now would be a good time to explain something. You might have noticed a mini-map in my prior footage with the enemies already tagged in it. I always knew what was coming up. In this game, I'm given a recon drone to tag the enemies a la Ghost Recon. This is the first of the games to lead the combat with sniping, actually. I like this. Once again, I'll reiterate that I'm definitely bad at this, but I'm enjoying it. Now you have to dial in the distance of your scope, and it feels more adult. They still have slow-mo kills, and I will say again, it is entertaining. After a quick interrogation, we find out there are more dudes inside waiting for us. To be expected. We have other guns now, and not just sniper rifles. After we're spotted by a security cam, I'm allowed to go loud. This gunplay isn't fantastic, but it does make for a more diversified
Come on,
gameplay.
John. The chopper's here.
We plant charges, as military men are inclined to do,
What the fuck?
and as we're leaving, the unthinkable happens. See you later, brother. Our villain leaves us alive because he's never seen an action movie ever.
You know, Mr. North, I believe the best of us are also lucky. 1, 2.
And we move out of the prologue. It's at this point when the game starts and I realize something. This is an open world game. Ubisoft, this is not, but the map is fairly substantial and there is no obvious level gating, so I appreciate that. I find my safe house and gear up and proceed to my first mission area. By the way, this is how I plan on exiting cars from now on. I clear out a small area and loot some gear and proceed to take on my first mission. After tagging out quite a few guys at the gas station, I completely blow my cover and do not listen to my command. I was definitely supposed to stay quiet so the targets wouldn't know I was coming. Oops. I eventually eliminate everyone, including my 2 targets, and I'm asked to exfiltrate the area. I didn't want to exfiltrate the area. My map showed goodies all over there, and I was right to check it. Now we're ticking off the open world checklist. This game definitely has improved on the formula. Overall, when discussing these games and whether I'd recommend them, I'd ask yourself what you're interested in. The first game had comical jank that made the $2 purchase an easy recommendation, but for actual gameplay you can find much better within this very series. The second game was thoroughly enjoyable when shooting from a mile away and providing covering fire, and I think honestly it makes up for the fact that when you're just patrolling through the jungle going on a path to your next spot, it's not quite as intriguing. It's just much more fun being a sniper, you know, in the sniper game. The third game is definitely the most polished and gives you the most tools to feel more like an elite soldier. The story is forgettable, but it simply falls in line with typical AAA games these days with a modern shooter, and soldiers featuring Nolan North 1 and Nolan North 2. Am I going to clear out this open world? Nah. But I'll shoot a couple more homies' heads off in slow-mo.